This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
Oh, the Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go!
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the World Series champion Texas Rangers, from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter, Tyler Nilson, Kane McCutcheon, and CJ Berryman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ranger Report podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. We are your source for the Texas Rangers on the Fans First Sports Network. And of course, we are presented by Dallas Sports Nation. And we are on the Comfort Air online studio, thanks to Mac and Tyler. And tonight I am joined by Kane McCutcheon and CJ Berryman. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Another day, another dollar, another quarter.
Yeah, going well, man.
Yeah.
Baseball, could be a little better, but hey, man, it's early in the year. Got some time left.
Yeah, it hasn't been a very good last 24 hours for the Rangers, no.
No, haven't been a very good week for the Rangers so far, being Thursday, but we'll talk about that. We're about to get into that. But Kane and I are going to cover our first game together on Monday, so we're probably going to post some TikToks or something on Monday just to have a little fun with it. We're going to tackle players and get thrown out. It'll be a lot. No, we're not going to do that. But we're going to have a little fun. We'll cover our first game together Monday and then our second one on Friday. So we're going to be school's over for me tomorrow. So I finally have time to go to Rangers games. So that's what I'm going to start doing with my summer. It's going to be exciting. But anyway, speaking of exciting, our pitching guys, pretty exciting.
Yeah, even with Corbin didn't do as well as he has in his previous starts. However, that's hard to beat because he's been fantastic so far this year. And the Yankees lineup is pretty treacherous. I mean, they lead the league in just about every statistical category. Yeah. I think they actually do lead the league in every statistical category. At least they came into the series doing so. And Aaron Judge was hitting 404 coming into the series. So not an easy lineup. DeGrom did great. Baldy did great. The offense, even though with the changes with Brett Boone, it just seems it's still not there. And I just hate to say it, but there's a huge hole in the lineup with Marcus Semien, and when Jock Peterson's in there, there's another huge hole. So you got 2 of 7 that aren't even hitting 200 right now, and that's just not acceptable, and it's not going to work if you're wanting to get the results that you expected to get when you brought these guys in. Put this roster together going forward into the season. So, and that kind of showed this weekend against the Yankees, who are arguably the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. CJ hit the nail on the head. Yeah, pitching's been great. I mean, it's hard to ask for more than what you got from the starting staff. You look at DeGrom, Malley, and Evaldi, and those 3 guys would be all-stars if, the all-star game were tomorrow.
Malley continues to amaze me every start.
You look at the bullpen, and it's been a little shaky at times, but ultimately it's, they're just not getting the big hit when they need it, whether it's the home run, whether it's the, hit with guys on base. They're just not coming up with it. And so, look, I think the time of sitting around and questioning whose fault it is over. There's a coaching change. It's on the guys that are actually playing the game. They've got to be better, and they'll be the first to tell you that. They know they've got to be better. It's not for a lack of effort. They're still showing up every day, can confirm. And I see them every day. They're showing up. They're working hard. It's not because of a lack of effort. It's just not working out right now. And it sucks, and our bigger questions are going to have to be answered if it comes to that point. Absolutely. But it's still early. They're still in it. They're only, 4 or 5 out.
Yeah.
So you got to look at the glass half full and you move on.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching's been great. Like we said, bullpen's been really good. I didn't think that Jackson home run was a big deal. Kind of a cheap home run to that right field in Yankee Stadium. That's like 170 feet. I don't know what it is. It's insane over there.
Yeah, it's not very far.
No, it's not very far. I think the home run that was hit today was like 324, I think, or 325, something like that, which is a home run in how many ballparks? Like 6?
No,
7.
I wouldn't even go that far.
It's a fly out in every other ballpark. Yeah. So, the Rangers lost the game on that, which kind of sucks, But anyway, but talking about offense, like CJ said, if you look down the batting average, I mean, Jake Berger 221, Adolis Garcia 215, and that dude, I feel like if the pitcher dropped the ball, Adolis would swing at it.
The strikeout that he had in game 1, that one where the name slipping me, but anyway, the pitcher just threw a sweeper away, and Adolis just whiffed at it.
Yep.
And then he threw it a little further away, and then he whiffed at it again, and he just doesn't look. It doesn't look like he's seeing the ball. And honestly, especially in game 1, they didn't look like they were seeing the ball worth a flip at all in that game 1, because they were getting 93 mile an hour fastballs right down the middle, and they were missing it out of the shoulder. So
that's going on. Simeon 180 with a 236 slugging percentage. Jock Peterson 134, Evan Carter 182, and then Ezekiel Duran 129. So you've got a bunch of guys, like 5 of your guys on this team under 250. Now Zeke's not an everyday starter,
right,
but still you got 5 guys that are playing, a lot that are under 200, or 3 guys, and then 5 guys that are under, 250. It's just 205, 210, just not good right now, this offense. And like I said, they sort of surged when Booney came in and looked pretty good for 5-6 games. And now they seem to be back to, I don't know if all of them need contacts or what, because it just looks, Kane, to me like they just can't see the ball.
Yeah, it's ultimately right. It's the quality of at bat that you care about, because if you look at a box score every night, you're not going to be able to tell how a team is taking at bats and how a team is hitting. It's the quality of at bats, and the quality of at bats is not there most nights, and it's frustrating. It's disappointing, especially because of after what we went through last year, right, with the offensive struggle and the start this year. I think they're going to go in every day, and they're going to try to turn it around. You keep pressing forward. I remember talking to Bruce Bochy about, what do you do in this situation? He said, you just keep pressing forward. That's all you can do. But I think another thing that this shows, and I asked a couple of Rangers personnel about this, was like, how much does one player really impact a lineup? Because you look at what the lineup does with Corey Seager in it and with him out of it. And it's pretty evident that one player, when it's Corey Seager, can impact a lineup, to a pretty heavy extent. And so the Rangers are just, hoping to get him back at some point on this next homestand. And boy, will that help out and take a lot of pressure off a lot of guys. But yeah, it just doesn't look like they're seeing the ball very well right now. And I don't want to continually come on the podcast and put out tweets and write columns about how, this team is struggling. No, I want the people to know, like, and I've been seeing, not going to lie, a lot of beat writers have been getting a lot of crap lately. I've been seeing on X, but like, it's unacceptable. Every single, first off, you're relying on beat writers to hold the team accountable. Unfortunately, I will not be doing that for you. But every single player in that locker room knows it's not acceptable. Every single person that watches this team on a daily basis and goes to these games and is covering these games understands it's not acceptable, and it has to get turned around. That's almost like it's an unspoken thing at this point. We don't have to sit here and talk about it because that's just the way it is. It has to be better.
Here's what I want to ask, and I cover some games, but not as many as you do, Kane. Like, what do they, I'm going to rant for a second. Like, what do they want them to ask? Why do you suck? Like, what question do they want to ask the players? Or do you understand that you're not playing well? What question can they ask that the players haven't already thought of themselves? Like, they, excuse me, they know that their hitting is bad right now. They know they're having difficulty at the plate. Pointing it out to them every day, day in and day out, is not going to be helpful. And there's no way to ask that question without sounding like a jerk, without being like, okay, so you're batting 182. Talk about that. What do they want the beat writers to ask other than, hey, what you guys plan to press forward? Those are the questions that you guys are asking, and those are the right questions to ask. They literally want you guys to go in there and go, hey, Jonah, you suck. Can you explain that? Like, that's not helpful whatsoever.
Yeah, I think, look, let's think about this. Obviously, we write columns. Players don't write columns.
Yeah.
If players wrote columns, they would tell you they're struggling.
Correct.
You guys know that they're struggling. They're still pressing on every day. That's all you can do. We look at someone like Marcus Semien. Absolutely, I understand that he's struggling. At the end of the day, he knows how to take an at bat. This is a veteran guy that knows how to take an at bat. He's going to press forward, and he's going to try to figure it out. Will bigger questions have to be asked with him and with several other players if this continues? Yes.
Yep.
But, right now, you look at where you're at. You're 4 5 games out. The pitching is doing phenomenally, obviously. We know the talent that's in the lineup. Obviously, talent does not get hits. Like, yes, that's absolutely understood.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of teams that are in a lot worse situations right now. The Rangers are blessed that the AL West is stacking up the way that it is right now, because our speculations on Houston being significantly worse are looking to be kind of true. Seattle, you can see the flaws in them. The Angels in Oakland, maybe Oakland is not, while they're playing well, they're playing all right. They've got a lot of guys playing well. Maybe they're not going to be that sleeper team that we thought they're going to be. You got to look at the division you're in. And then, I had someone ask me this the other day. Well, Kane, if the Rangers win the West and they're the worst division winner, they're going to be playing a wild card series. Well, you've got 3 guys that can line up in a wild card series and absolutely win it for you on the mound.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Postseason, what comes? What's at the forefront? Pitching. So it's like it could be a lot worse. You got to look at it half full.
I mean, CJ, the Rangers are one of the worst teams offensively in baseball, and they're at 500 4 games out of first. I mean, think about if they do hit offensively with the way they're pitching. My goodness, this team is going to be unstoppable when they go on that streak.
That's what you kind of look at, too, when you look at how awesome the pitching has been. I mean, really over the last month.
Yeah.
Really all season. I mean, I'd have to try to pinpoint a bad game, and that would probably be a Kumar Rocker start.
Yeah, there were a few. There was a Kumar and a lighter start that were pretty bad.
Start, and then you go and you see, Jack, taking a no into the 7th.
Yeah,
we know what happened there, but you just kind of look at what the pitching is, and you just it's something that we're not used to as Rangers fans. We're not used to having this type of pitching, and so you're sitting there you're seeing the pitching, and you're like, man, all that pitching, all that solid pitching, that great pitching is being wasted because the offense can't get any runs across the plate. But, you kind of look at it in a different light, like, okay, the offense is going to come around. It has to. And when it does, I mean, even when the pitching is not as spectacular as it has been, you're going to be able to win ball games, and you're going to be able to win a lot of ball games in a hurry. And you can go, 4 out of 6, and then the next 10 go 7 of 3, and all of a sudden, bam, you're right there at the top of the standings again, battling for the number 1 spot. So the fact that they're just 1 game under, they're not out of it at all at this point in the season. Obviously, it's super, 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 super early. Yeah. I mean, and the sky points up. I mean, it could be, like King said, it could be worse. I mean, it could be a whole lot worse, but that's one thing, and I'm glad he pointed that out, going into the postseason, if the Rangers are able to get there, which we expect them to, I have no problem throwing any 5 pitchers that we have on the mound. Obviously, you have your top 3. And
remember, and remember, we'll have Gray and Bradford back at some point this season, too.
Right. So I think we hope to have Bradford back. I mean, that seems to be a lingering issue. But
it does.
I think something that you said we're not used to it. It's not even that we're not used to it. We've never had it.
Yeah.
It's the greatest start to a season that any Rangers rotations had in history. Lowest ERA ever. And so it's like we've never had it. So this pitching can line up with any other pitching staff in baseball. Obviously, the bullpen questions have to get figured out. Chris Martin going on the IL is not ideal. Both those injuries are not good. When it was his forearm, when it's his shoulder, whatever it is, that's not good.
Luke Jackson's still down there, and that the back end is what is I think the main concern. The very back end is not having that solidified, bona fide guy. But that I can guarantee you, and I'm sure you can agree, Kane, that's going to get addressed.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to get addressed one way or the other. Look at. It doesn't even have to be a trade. Look at the way that Robert Garcia is throwing the ball right now, and say you can't throw the 9th inning. The way Chris Martin was throwing the ball before he went down. It just takes some reshuffling a little bit, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I don't think. I think one storyline is I've seen Chris Young getting a lot of crap, but look at the way he's rebuilt this bullpen. It's not like you just have in 2023, there were times in the year where you had to throw a dart at the board.
It got bad there for a while.
It's not that bad.
You
got guys this is a makeup of a good bullpen. You've got think about it even in the postseason, right? Jordan Alvarez sets to play. You've got someone like Hobie Milner that can go get a tough lefty out. You've got Garcia, who's been throwing the ball exceptionally well. Martin, is going to set up that closer, whoever it is. So it's like, I think Chris Young, this is an entirely new bullpen, basically. I think that's what to talk about a little more.
Yeah, the depth that he's put into that thing, that the bullpen, the depth that he's put in that thing, it's better than it's been in years.
Oh yeah.
Years, and so that's the only thing it's missing to me. It's speaking of playoffs and adding one piece. It's like the Dallas Stars. They were so deep. They're the deepest team. They came into the season as the deepest team. They were just missing that one guy, and they made the trade for Miko Renton, and all of a sudden now you're seeing a whole different.
Yeah, that's worked out pretty well so far.
Yes, that's worked out.
Your statement, yeah.
How about those 5 goals in the third period last night? Ooh, boy.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, see what happens when you trade for a star player instead of trade him away?
Yeah.
It's work out, right?
Thanks, Avalanche. Anyway, but yeah, I think it could come trade. I foresee that being the case, that you're going to see a name whenever those guys start becoming available as we get towards the All-Star break. That's my thought on that, because I think like Kane was saying, the bullpen, it's pretty much a whole new. It's essentially a whole new bullpen, because you don't have Spores, you still don't have Spores, and it's just it's a whole bunch of new guys, but the depth is there. So just missing that one guy that can come in and slam that door shut really hard.
I will say this: if we are going to talk about the trade deadline, let's take a giant step back, and it's way too early to even talk about this.
Yeah.
But that's what we do.
I'll say this. Yeah, depending on, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you this, but like, depending on how they play up until the trade deadline is going to determine whether they are a buyer or a seller. Because, and I say this because there are a couple pieces on this team that you can sell off very easily. They need to be sold off if they do not start to perform, and you'll still be in a position to compete next season.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, if they are contending, said pieces will not go anywhere, obviously. And if anything, you will add to them.
Yeah.
But I just think, their record at the trade deadline, I think it's going to be more important than it has been maybe in years past.
Yeah.
Because of which side of the fence do they lean on? Because we've seen CYB, when it comes to, we've seen CY for a couple of trade deadlines. 2023, obviously, he pushed all in. He won the World Series. Last year, they weren't completely out of it at the trade deadline, but they were pretty out of it. And he still didn't sell. He still pushed in. He didn't, obviously go to the ends of the market to bring in the elite of the elite, but he brought in Andrew Chafin. He brought in Carson Kelly, who is doing phenomenal with the Cubs this year. Yeah. But we've seen him be kind of a little more lean. I don't think this is an in the middle trade deadline. I think this is one or the other. It's your left or your right, and the play is going to determine it. And so, it's it could get intense. I
also think it depends on where Houston and Seattle are at that point too. If we're 3 games over 500, but Seattle's 15 games over 500, there's not going to be a wild card team out of the AL West this year.
No,
it's pretty obvious. You either win the division or you don't get in. I think you'll probably have 3 out of the East this year, or 2 wild card teams out of the East behind the Yankees. But I agree with you. I think unless they're 14 games out of first place, I don't see them being sellers, even if they're 7 or 8 games out, because we all know that Seattle does have a weakness. And even if they go on a huge winning streak, they could turn it around at any point, because their offense is not the best. It's not terrible, but it's not the best. Their pitching, like us, is really good. Their offense has struggled, but they've just done a little bit better than the Rangers have. If that turns around, the Rangers can easily leapfrog them and take over first place.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Ben, look at the playoff picture right now. The AL Central, if the playoffs ended today, season is over today, the AL Central would get 4 out of 5 teams in.
Yeah.
That is obviously they're going to beat up on each other. But, the way that they're playing, how many years did we talk about how the AL Central was the weakest division?
Yep.
And now it's looking like the strongest division of baseball. And so it's like, all right, well, do the AL East teams and the AL West teams have to win their division to be in? It's like, look at that. There's a lot of teams that are playing really good ball. But the thing is, though, I still really feel like, and this goes to the Rangers' point of buyers, the AL I still feel like is wide open.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any of those AL Central teams, maybe beside the Tigers, you would like the Rangers pitching in those matchups. You would like the Rangers pitching against the Guardians, against the Twins, against the Royals. Tigers is tough. I mean, the Tigers don't go 3 deep like the Rangers do, but they have one of the best 1-2s in all of baseball.
Oh yeah.
You know, Scooble's probably the best pitcher in all of baseball, and then you've got Jack Flaherty. But it's like you start to match the Rangers up against these teams, and it's like, you know, I like them. The American League is still wide open. If they were in the National League, I'll say this: if the Rangers were in the National League right now and they're playing the way they were, you know, 500, that's not going to get you very far in the National League right now. So this is kind of like the National League is significantly better than the American League right now. So that signs are pointing, you know, very, very, very early signs are pointing towards pro Rangers buying if they can stay in it. So I just don't think you can look at this team, the overall landscape of where they are, where baseball is, and be like absolutely devastated at where they're at right now. I don't think you can look at it and come to that conclusion.
Well, like, and no joke, the Rangers are seriously like streak stoppers at the moment, pitching wise. I mean, the Yankees came in hitting, you know, bombs in every single game, 7, 8, 9 runs.
About every single night.
7, 8, 9 runs, and then all of a sudden they faced the Rangers. Detroit was tearing it up when the Rangers faced them. They shut them down. So I agree with Kane. Once they get in the playoffs, this team can beat anyone simply because of pitching. Like, we match up better, like Kane said, and CJ too. Our 1-2-3 punch is better than anyone else's 1-2-3 punch pitching wise in the American League. And DeGrom has now thrown over 100 pitches in a game already. Eovaldi has gone over 100 pitches and thrown a complete game already. You know, Corbin has been way better than we expected. You know, Jack Leiter, like CJ said, had a no into the 7th the other night. This rotation is coming together, and that's going to be your 4th and 5th starter. You know, that's not even Eovaldi, Malley, and I didn't even mention Malley. Yeah, Eovaldi, Malley, and DeGrom. That 3 right there, I would put up against any team, including the Dodgers. And I think you can shut any of those teams down 2 out of 3 nights easily with that starting rotation.
I think for some reason, it just the start that Malley's had to this season has gone a little overlooked.
Yeah,
because he's not a big name.
Absolutely,
because you have DeGrom and Eovaldi in front of him. That's all people talk about. But Malley's probably been the best, most consistent starter.
He has. I mean, when has he had a bad start?
He hasn't.
Tell me.
Look at this. I mean, I know as my generation, we get all these notifications on our phones, and we see all these social media posts of MLB starting pitcher power rankings, top 10 starting pitcher rankings, and these experts have Tyler Malley nowhere near the top 10, and they have guys that are just not even doing as well because they have name recognition.
They have the name attached to them.
And it's like, I mean, look at what this guy's doing. He's been amongst the best, but yeah, the pitching matches up. And even to Ben's point about the Dodgers pitching is all hurt. Like, it's like
they're like a mash unit over there.
So we'll see. I mean, it's obviously early to be talking about that, but I don't think you can look at it like, for goodness sake, this team just had a 5-2 homestand. Yeah, like they went to play
it could have and should have been an undefeated homestand too.
Yep.
And we can actually we can stop looking ahead and kind of flip the page, because the Rangers do have an opportunity against the AL Central's worst team and one of the worst teams in baseball to kind of get their bearings back like they did against Minnesota. But going up to and going to Chicago, and I mean, at least take 2 or 3 there, get some offensive spark back, and then all of a sudden you come back and face St. Louis, who's
Toronto first.
Toronto, and then you got St. Louis after that. Those 2 teams are right around where you are. So this is kind of a great opportunity to, number one, against the White Sox, get some momentum going into those 2 series, and then seeing how you match up against teams that right now, record-wise, are right where you are.
I think I will say this. Chicago, absolutely. Huge opportunity to go in there and to sweep or take 2 out of 3. I think with Toronto and St. Louis, I think that's a little bit of a gray area. I wouldn't necessarily put it in the same boat, because the Blue Jays are playing some good baseball right now. They just swept the Padres. You know, they got a series with the Rays. They maybe can build some momentum. And the Cardinals have been, maybe beside the Twins, as good as anyone in the past 2 weeks, you know? So that I am very, very interested to see what happens in those series. I will say with Chicago, though, you've got to go in there and take 2 out of 3. Although I don't know.
I said Minnesota earlier. I meant Colorado.
ever since Pope Leo, those White Sox look a little bit different. So
Hey, they have double the wins that Colorado have.
Yeah. Divine intervention, Pope Leo, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, though. Yeah, they I mean, let's face it, they need to sweep that series. They may not, but they need to sweep that series.
At least get two. At least get
it's important. Like you said, Toronto's 25-24, basically the same record as us, but they're 6-4 in their last 10. So, like Kane said, they're coming on and doing pretty well. The Rangers are 5-5 in their last 10, and then we're talking about St. Louis, who is 27-23, also 6-4 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're right around where the Rangers are. Right?
Yep, these teams are playing, but these teams are playing good right now, and the Rangers are not. So if the Rangers, like CJ, I 100% agree with you. They can get back on track against the White Sox, even if they lose tomorrow.
Yeah,
and then win the last two. Win Saturday and Sunday, coming home with back-to-back wins into that Memorial Day. Holidays like Memorial Day, the Rangers always seem to step up on those kind of holidays. So you would think, and I want them to, obviously, because I'm going to be at that game. But still, they usually seem to step up at those type of circumstances. So if you can then win 3 in a row, then all of a sudden, like they did when they won, was it 6 in a row here in a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
6 or 7. It was 6. They went for 7 and didn't get it. But yeah, if they can get back on that kind of streak, then who knows? And if Seattle can lose just a couple, I mean, like Kane said, we're only 3 or 4 games out of first. You can have a switch in 1 week where the Rangers move into second or even first place very quickly.
Yeah, and to CJ's point, like, you've got an opportunity to go in there and sweep or take 2 out of 3 from the White Sox. And then even though the Blue Jays and the Cardinals are playing good baseball right now, the Rangers have played significantly better at home this year than they have on the road. So there's another feather.
Throw our pitching into that. And
yeah, I mean, look what we just did to the Yankees offense, which came in humming. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Throw our pitching into that equation because they haven't faced a staff like ours. And it's crazy to say that. It's so weird. So weird to say they haven't faced a pitching staff like ours, not being tongue in cheek about it. But yeah, that's exactly. I'm more confident. I mean, I feel totally confident, especially after going into New York and quieting those bats. Like Kane said, throw our pitching up against anybody. I'll take ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're feeding off of each other too. That's it. Every single guy I've talked to, they're feeding off of each other. They're going out, and it's truly like, I know we maybe something that people don't see is like these guys watch each other's bullpens. Like, you're in a live BP. Nathan Eovaldi is standing right there. Jacob deGrom is there. They're watching each other's bullpens. They're constantly. And Jacob deGrom, I was talking to Jacob deGrom the other day about just like feedback that they give each other, and he's like, yeah, like everyone gives each other feedback. Take it or leave it. Like that's up to you. But everyone, all these guys are giving each other feedback. They're bouncing off of each other, and I think even like imagine like a young guy like Jack Leiter has Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, Patrick Corbin, who was dominant in his career, and just guys like that to build off. Mally's been there, done it. Like the young guys are bouncing off these veterans in the top 3. They're all just kind of going off each other.
This is the Ranger Report
podcast.
After
night, they're trying to match each other, and
News,
everyone says hitting is contagious, like starting pitching is contagious,
and information about the Texas Rangers
one of the reasons
from the major leagues to the minor leagues.
It's because those guys compete against each other, man, and he doesn't want to be the weak link in the chain. So he's been pitching well again. Jack Leiter is definitely starting to figure it out.
He looks so much more comfortable out there. Oh my!
Last year, every start he looked a mess. Yeah, and this year he looks like he belongs, and I think it's been great to see. And Rocker's kind of going through what Leiter went through last year with a good start and then an awful start and then a good start and then an awful start. And once he comes back from his injury, I think he'll get back on track. I'm looking forward to seeing what Leiter and Rocker do together for a couple of years.
I could see Rocker just going straight to AAA because right now there's not a spot. I mean, there isn't. Patrick Corbin has locked that down so far. So that's not a bad thing either.
No.
It's not a bad thing at all because Rocker he really hasn't pitched a whole lot of professional ball. He really hasn't when you look at it.
Because he had Tommy John right after he came on the team. Yep.
Yeah. Right. So it's not a bad thing at all. Let him go down there, get comfortable, dominate them like he did, last year when he stormed right up to the big leagues and made a hell of a ending of the season and a beginning of his career. So right now, I mean, unless an injury happens, God forbid, and then you still have John Gray, who will be back once that hand heals. And what are you going to do with him? Obviously, he can be a bullpen piece, and he's shown that. But it's exciting on the pitching side. It's extremely exciting. And me being a former pitcher, obviously, if you've listened to this podcast, I love pitching, love it. And seeing the Rangers be one of the best in the league has just been a blast.
Well, I think to CJ's point, like that is the next question that arises is like, what do you do with these guys that are going to come back from injury?
Yep.
Because you start to look at it, obviously, like you said, Rocker's going to come back. At this point, I don't know that you do mess with the current rotation.
Yep.
I feel like with Rocker, I think that's a guy that could benefit from a little bit of time at AAA. Yep. With Bradford and Gray, those are two guys that have come out of the bullpen before. I still, I don't know. It's like, you're looking at someone like John Gray. This is the last year of his contract. Probably is not going to be back on the team next year. Someone like Bradford, who is going to be a really, really good big league starter. It's like, what do you do? It's interesting. And they're going to have to kind of weigh that and see what they're going to do with that. I'll say this, though. I think, if you ask me to pick right now, what I think they're going to do, I just don't see how you could mess with this current rotation. I think Rocker goes to AAA and Bradford and Gray, they could definitely be used in the bullpen.
That would be quite a bolster to the bullpen to have both those guys out there.
Honestly, there's a bullpen upgrade, and then everybody shuffles back a little bit, and then you start getting some of the meat and potatoes guys that you have that pitch in those high leverage situations a little bit earlier. Now they're pitching in them later.
Well, I think though too, like Gray and Bradford, if they go to the bullpen, like they don't need to be like leverage guys. Like they're like those can be, instead of okay, we need Jacob Webb to go 2 innings or Hobie Milner to go 2 innings. We can have John Gray go 2 innings or Cody Bradford go 2 innings. Like they slide into back middle, and it's like it just gives you more coverage. Like I kind of think of it as like replacing someone like Caleb Bosley with someone like John Gray, and like what an upgrade. Not to knock on Caleb Bosley because he's done a good job, but like what I'm saying. Like I feel like it gives you more depth, and it does give you better multi-inning options because right now they do have multi-inning options, right? Obviously, like Armstrong can go multiple innings, Webb can go multiple innings, Milner can, but it's like, it just gives you more coverage down there, I feel like.
Well, and it gives those guys a little bit of rest too, because if you keep using them multiple innings, they're going to start wearing down as the season
They will
goes
eventually wear down,
because we've already seen Milner not pitching quite as good as he did the first few weeks of the season, just because he's wore out a little bit, but because they've used him so much, he's given up more runs than he did. And still not bad. Like he's still pitching great. I still love watching Hobie Milner go out there. His delivery, man, cracks me up. Like, I don't know how anybody hits that thing.
Yeah, it is crazy. Fort Worth guy, obviously. So we love that. But yeah, I just think that there's a lot of benefit to be had to those guys sliding into the bullpen. Obviously, it won't take them as long to ramp up because those guys have pitched this season, so they've still got to go through full ramp up. So like it's going to be a minute before they do impact the team. I just think when you do, I just don't see how you could disrupt this rotation, which is crazy because if you had told me when Patrick Corbin signed with the Rangers that you're going to have a hard time taking him out of the rotation, like
exactly,
as would most people have not. And if you would have told me that Leiter's going to be throwing the ball the way, I wouldn't be super shocked at that. But it's like, wow, that's a pleasant surprise. And man, he's looked really good. Shout out to him for being the closest I've ever seen to a Rangers no-hitter at a game I've covered. Oh my God. I really thought he was going to do it.
That's the thing.
Running up there. And
after watching him last year, if you'd have told me that by mid-May he was going to almost throw a no-hitter, I'd have been like, yeah, he's not there yet. I wouldn't have believed it. No, but I sat there and watched that game thinking, who is this guy, man? He is unhittable. Yeah. It's almost like he became Little Evaldi right there, just doing the same thing that Nathan does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Really, really good. I think, he started out the season pretty good, and then he had the blister, and then after that he kind of, dipped down a little bit in performance. Now he's trending right back up. He's had a really good last couple starts. So
that fastball hitting high 90s.
Yep.
We've always known the stuff was there, right? Like even when he was struggling in the minors, it was like the stuff is there. It's just gotta, gotta be consistent. And now we're kind of starting to see it, and you're seeing the flashes of like, this is the guy they drafted.
And I wonder how much of that goes to his routine too. Is that now he's figured out a routine that's successful, and now he's going to start doing. He's doing that every time in between starts, every time leading up to his starts, and whatnot, and how it, how that might have impacted how he's been able to prepare coming into the season, and how he's been able to prepare between starts. because he just looks so much more confident when he steps up on the mound, and you just see it on the face, look on his face. He's trusting his stuff before he even throws his pitch number one.
Yeah, and I think something too that's helped him a lot was that he's noted before is like his mindset shift. Like when he first started, he was thinking about the bigger picture a lot. When he first when he was first pitching in pro ball, how does this affect my path to the big leagues? How does this, affect my trajectory? When am I going to get up? How am I going to succeed? Now he's just, start by start, locking in, and he started shifting that when he started having success in the minors. Like, he was the Pacific Coast League Pitcher of the Year. Like, had success at the minor league level, and now he's having success at the big league level. So it's very encouraging to see, because I know there was one point where, it looked like a lot of people thought the Rangers had just wasted a number 2 overall pick. And you look at the drafts, like, the draft when they picked Davis Wenzel, and like a couple picks later was Gunnar Henderson, or like, everyone was thinking it was going to be another one of those, but he's really looked good, and it's organizationally has been a huge success.
I agree. All right. So the Rangers do have the White Sox, Blue Jays, and Cardinals. We will probably, guys, do another one next Thursday again, because the Rangers have an off day before I come down on Friday. So that'll be good. But yeah, this team still not out of it. Something we can be proud of. The pitching, obviously, we talked about something we can be proud of. And the offense is something that hopefully we will be proud of one day. I wrote a pretty scathing article on Dallas Sports Nation the other day. It's talking about how the trend is not good now that we're, 50 games into the season, and they're still averaging right at or under 3 runs a game. The trend is not good. You're 1/3 of the way through the season. Basically, you will be in a couple more games, and they're just dreadful batting, but things can change. I mean, we've seen it in 2023. You remember their September was so bad. We all gave up hope, and then they come out in October and they just mash the crap out of the ball and win the World Series. So I never give up hope on this team, although I am frustrated. I'll say that. I know you guys are too with the offense. Yeah, and I know they are too, right?
Yeah, it's easy to be frustrated and disappointed, but to outright say that they suck or whatever, that's just
they're not playing well right now, but this team has talent.
That would be an asinine statement, and I can go ahead and guarantee that the offense is going to be much better in the latter 2/3 of the season. It's going to be better than it has been, and that's all you can ask for right now with the way the pitching has been.
And remember, almost all of their away games have been like freezing cold.
Oh yeah,
affects guys too. So. I think that's one reason they played so much better at home, which makes me think when we hit summer and they're playing in 90-degree weather everywhere, I think they're going to be hitting the ball a whole lot better.
Yeah, I think it's going to change.
I do like that you said, though, like pointed out where we are in the season, because like it's important to know, and like everyone knows this. I know like fans get frustrated because they don't hear this a lot from people, but like it's important to know that everyone knows like this is beyond a slow start at this point. Like,
oh yeah.
That this team is scuffling, and it's just it needs to be turned around. Like that's all there is to it. Like this is not an acceptable performance. We've talked about it on this episode, but like everyone knows it. Players know it. Coaches know it. Fans know it. Everyone that covers the team knows that. Like this performance this season has not been acceptable, and it has to turn around, or bigger questions will be asked and answered. Like that's an unspoken. Like that is the way it is.
All right, guys, this has been the Ranger Report podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. For CJ Berryman and Kay McCutcheon, I'm Ben Dieter.
Drop them.
Deuces.
Until Ben joins the house next week.
That's right. We'll see you there.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.